Hi YouTube, I'm Eric, and this is a collab that I was able to do with Bipolar Corner. His name is Gary. Did an amazing job of just answering questions when it came to bipolar. It's something I'm not very aware of. So thanks for watching this video. If you haven't clicked the like and subscribe button yet, click the like and subscribe button right down there, and let's get started. I hope you get some good information from this. This video here, I did with Gary. It was back and forth video just through messaging. Just me asking him a lot of questions because I really wanted to find out more about bipolarism because it's something I'm not very aware of. I'm an ADHD, I'm sober, I deal with depression and anxiety, PTSD. And, it's about breaking the stigma that's around the mental illness community and the mental health. So let me have Gary introduce himself for you here.
What's up, Eric? Thanks for having me on your channel. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Gary, and I'm with Bipolar Corner, and my channel is all about breaking the stigma that surrounds the mental health community. Me and Eric actually met up on Twitter because we were both actually recovering addicts. I just celebrated my 11th year of sobriety from opiates, Percocets, Lortabs, Lorcets, also snorted cocaine, smoked crack, and basically that's what I'm recovering from. And I also drank like a fish. And as of December the 25th of this year, I am 11 years sober, so go me. And for all of you out there that are sober, whether it's 2 weeks, 6 months, 4 months, congrats to all of you. It is not easy, but I am living proof, and so is Eric, that it can be done.
So first question is kind of two questions, is being very big into sobriety and knowing how mental illness works and that we do self-medicate. Did you self-medicate at all, with your illnesses? And then, after and getting sober, how long have you been properly treated for and receiving the proper help for?
Believe it or not, this is a very tricky question. So the simplest way that I can answer the second part is I have been getting treated properly since 2007. So for 11 years now, I have been seeing doctors and being on medications regularly, such as lithium and Xanax. Now they're wanting to try me on an antipsychotic and maybe even a sleeping med as well, which is getting to that point I might have to try that out. I started doing drugs at 13, but it wasn't really because of bipolar. It was because I started being abused by someone who I looked up as my father. They weren't my father. It was just someone I met as a father figure, who took me fishing and things like that. And what that's called is the grooming process. And I was abused from 13 to 17 years old. And so I started drinking a lot and heavily smoking a lot of weed and even popping pills at 14 just to get me through the 4 years of high school and the 4 years of hell that I went through every day for that. Once I got older, I was still smoking weed and drinking. I finally got out of the abuse at 17. Then I started snorting pills. In my 20s, I started snorting coke and smoking crack. I about had a heart attack. I lost my uncle. So in 2006, I finally quit doing drugs, and I went on a taper for 6 months. And that is pretty much how I got off of drugs. And then in 2007, I couldn't live in my skin, and I knew if I didn't get help, I was going to go back to abusing drugs again. So I went to an outpatient program who helped me get on the right track, let me see group therapy every day, therapist every week, and a doctor every week. And that is actually what helped me get on the track. And so since 2007 up until 2018, I've been 11 years in sobriety and also have been taking medicines and not abusing anything else since then. And I actually haven't been on Xanax for all those years. I've just been recently on those for the past 4. Before that, I was on Klonopin, and I have several videos on that.
So much of getting the right treatment, there's a lot of trial and error. So how much trial and error did you go through, or are you going through, to find that right balance and the right type of medication and the right prescriptions to help treat bipolarism?
As far as trial and error goes, I'll be honest with you, man, it was a nightmare. It's like a guinea pig. I had been on so many medications when I was younger for being misdiagnosed. I had been on a lot of medications as I got older, ones that would make me hallucinate, sit on the floor, talk to myself, become delusional. And I've been I was stable from 2007 up until this year with lithium and Klonopin. However, what they found out was, because I was on those for 10 years, but what had happened was as the Klonopin started keeping me in a hypomanic state, I was becoming irritable, agitated, and I was kind of acting the way that I used to do when I took pain pills all the time. So they switched me over to Valium, and now I've been on Xanax for over 4 months now, and they're continuing to keep me on that. However, the Xanax has completely knocked out the hypomanic state. Because of that, now I'm staying pretty much in bipolar depression. So they're wanting to add another medicine now, after 10 years. To pretty much maybe as an antipsychotic, because I also been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which you can either say it's schizoaffective bipolar type, or you can say that I have schizophrenia and bipolar, which is the easiest way to say it, because all it is schizophrenia and bipolar getting together and having a baby. So to be honest with you, 10 years I was on medicine, but it wasn't really working like it should, but I was stable enough to function. Then it wore off after 10 years. I was not being able to function again, and now I'm back to where they have to start adding meds again, change my meds. So this is one thing that happens when you take medicines, no matter what they are, over a long period of time. Sometimes they have to be switched around because your body builds up that tolerance, or you get immune to it, or the effects of it just wear off. Rather it's an antidepressant, an antipsychotic, or whatever the case may be. And that's just a part of having a mental health illness. You have to stay strong and, fight the fight.
So, what was your experience getting diagnosed, and how did you get diagnosed with being bipolar? Were there any challenges in getting diagnosed? Because it can be difficult to get the proper diagnosis.
That's actually a really good question, and to be honest with you, it's not an easy one. I was pretty much a guinea pig. I was actually diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. They wasn't really sure because I was sometimes hyperactive, but not all the time. So when I was 8, it was actually by a pediatrician, not a psychiatrist, psychologist. I wasn't seeing a therapist or anything like that at the time. And so what actually happened was a pediatrician put me on Ritalin, and I stayed on that up until I was 13 years old. Then I actually tried to commit suicide, and that's when I was actually put into a mental health institute for 30 days inpatient treatment. Once I was out of there, I went to another facility to where I started seeing a licensed psychologist and psychiatrist, and they done psychological testing and evaluation. That's when they actually found out that I had bipolar disorder, and between the ages of 8 and 13, I was tried on all this different medicine. So I really didn't get until about 14 years old till I was officially diagnosed with bipolar. And this is why I talk about on my channel that you've seen me mention, is that it's very hard to actually diagnose children with mental health issues because your brain isn't fully developed, and because ADHD, bipolar, BPD, schizoaffective disorder, they're so similar to where one over the line of each other, it's very hard to diagnose kids. So you have to be very cautious of who you take your child to, very cautious of, having them put on medications and things like that because of this circumstance that happens to a lot more children than what people know. And you'll see a lot of people even here on YouTube that'll say, I was diagnosed with such and such for 7 years, and now I found out I have something else. I never had that. And this is one of the reasons why. So basically, to answer your question short now, it was at 15 years old when I actually got to see a licensed psychiatrist and psychologist, and they talked together and finally figured it out, what it was that I had.
Now, a lot of times, family members don't respond the best to being diagnosed with any kind of mental illness. They don't want to believe that anything's wrong with, their child or anyone that they know. How was it when your parents found out or your friends found out, and being able to share and be open with them about it?
Now, I actually didn't have any problems when my parents found out that I had bipolar, because my mother has bipolar. And my father, he's a recovering alcoholic, and he has schizophrenia. So they didn't have any problems at all finding out that I had bipolar disorder. Those who I actually had problems with was friends. What I didn't mention was during my 4 years of high school, I was actually put in a school for pretty much bad kids uh, for a semester. And then that's when they found out that I had bipolar. They called me Crazy Gary, and that's pretty much how that nickname stuck. So I've been called Crazy Gary since I was about 14 years old, and I'm 38 now.
What's the big advice that you would give anyone out there who is diagnosed with bipolar, of what to do? I mean, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give somebody who is just newly diagnosed being bipolar?
The main advice that I would give to someone who's just been diagnosed with bipolar is just to let you know that you're not alone. Also, don't be ashamed of it. Don't think that your world has ended, because it's not. Now you actually know that you have bipolar. You can start being treated properly. You have the right diagnosis. Now they'll be giving you the right tools with the right doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, and everything will work out and be just fine. So stay tough, stay strong. Don't let anybody put you down. If they do, cut them out of your life. It's the best thing they do. Not everybody understands. And the only way that we can actually break the stigma that surrounds the mental health community, because there's a lot of stigma out there, not just with bipolar, but with BPD and schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, ADHD, and all of these other type of mental health illnesses. The only way we can break that is to stand together as brothers and sisters, as in the mental health community, and break the stigma that surrounds us. Talk about it. Vocal. We're people. We're human beings. We're not our disorder. We have a disorder. We have a mental health issue, but we are not bipolar. We are not ADHD. We define the disorders that are given to us. We do not let the disorders define us. And that is the main advice that I have. Stay strong. Eric, I just want to say thank you for doing this collab with me. I really appreciate it. I'll be more than happy to do any other collabs that you'd like to do. And for those of you who haven't subscribed to Driven Industries, go ahead and do it. He's a great mental health advocate and a recovering addict advocate as well. And if you haven't never subscribed to my channel, feel free to come over and check it out. It's Bipolar Corner. And again, my name's Gary. And the only way we're ever going to break the stigma that surrounds the mental health community in general is by standing together and speaking up. Thanks again, Eric. I appreciate it.
Gary, thank you so much for doing this with me. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to Bipolar Corner yet, I have the link down below in the comment section. Check out his channel. He does great information and some great tools on just bringing awareness and helping erase that stigma around mental health and mental illness. You know, it's awesome to see people out there who are real, who are really trying to make a difference in others' lives, because it's so important that we know that we're not alone and that we don't struggle alone. You know, finding somebody like this and finding a tool like this out there, it's awesome. So if you haven't subscribed to his channel yet, definitely check out his channel, subscribe to it, you know, interact with our videos. And that's what it's about. It's about the more awareness that we can bring, the more that we can erase the stigma around mental health and around mental illness. And I really, again, thank you, Gary, for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. And, you know, I hope to do a lot more of these with you here in the future. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, click the like and subscribe button, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to Bipolar Corner's channel, and help us erase this stigma that's around mental health and around mental illness and around so much of what everybody can suffer from that isn't widely talked about, and keep it on a real level that, you know, it comes down to people helping people. So I hope that you got a lot from this. Thanks so much for watching, and can't wait to do this again with them soon.